What's happening, guys? Sam Adams here, and welcome to a brand new episode of Caffeinate today for May the 6th of 2019. My name is Samuel Adams, and welcome to today's show. Of course, as always, I do hope this one finds you well, and if you happen to be brand new to the show, this is a daily gaming news podcast in which I bring you the hottest gaming news from around the industry, and I pack it up in one tight, neat little podcast for you to enjoy at some point during your day. Now, of course, the show is hosted 5 days a week, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern Time, right here on twitch.tv/thesamueladams. There's a pause here today. The schedule may be changing as I begin to move on to the next part of my career, which means actually graduating college and beginning to work somewhere. We might be shifting the time frame when Caffeinate is hosted live. I'll let you guys know. You can follow on Twitter at PrettyChillGuy if you do want to stay up to date with that. But I will, of course, let you guys know long beforehand before any changes do take effect. But until then, it is hosted at 7 a.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/thesamueladams, then taken down and put up on youtube.com/SamuelAdamsMedia, as well as Anchor.fm, which includes Spotify if you did want to listen to the podcast in an audio-only format. However, what are we going to be talking about today? There will soon be more PC gamers in China than the entire population of the United States. That is absolutely nuts, and we'll talk about why that's specifically significant in just a couple of minutes. Now, of course, over the weekend, we did see a big Fortnite event. However, it does seem like it did have a couple of bugs here and there, so there's a free item in response to that I will let you guys know about. But, of course, Epic goes big, and they, of course, did it again with the beginning of a new season for the world of Fortnite. A Ghost Recon teaser suggests we will see a new Tom Clancy game around May the 9th. Platinum is going to start self-publishing its games so that it can make sequels. Rocket League is getting review bombed because Epic bought Psyonix, and of course, as to be expected these days, 17,000 Niantic players work to collect 145 tons of rubbish in celebration of Earth Day. The use of rubbish here lets you know that that's from Eurogamer, and Ubisoft adds lightsabers to For Honor. I'll tell you right now, we'll get into For Honor in just a moment, but that game never ceases to amaze me when it comes to special events and community, happenings and whatnot. However, that is the lineup for the day. I do hope you enjoyed today's show, and without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it. Coming from PC Gamer, there will soon be more PC gamers in China than the total population of the United States. Despite a year-long licensing freeze on new game approvals, PC gaming in China is a behemoth $16 billion industry. By 2023, there will be an estimated 354 million PC gamers playing online games in China, more than the entire population of the United States. That overwhelming number of players will be responsible for making China's enormous games industry an estimated 16 billion USD by that same year, and keep in mind that mobile games is an even bigger market in China. These figures come from a leading Asian game market research and consulting firm Nico Partners' 2019 China PC Online Games Market Report, which not only summarizes the 2018 year for PC gaming in China, but also projects where that industry will be in 2023. If you are surprised by the size of China's PC gaming market, you shouldn't be. It's been exploding in growth since 2001, when the total market was only worth $100 million. Nico Partner founder Lisa Cosmas Hansen told us over at PC Gamer in an interview. What is surprising, however, is how the Chinese PC games market has remained resilient in spite of a heavy government regulation, or a slew of regulations rather. In March 2018, the Chinese government put a temporary freeze on the licensing of all new games, and of course they must obtain legal approval before they are able to be published and monetized in China. That ban on new licenses lasted almost a whole year and caused Nico Partners to adjust their initial forecast downward for 2018. In spite of that approval freeze, though, China's PC gaming industry still raked in $15.21 billion in 2018, with a total of 312.4 million PC gamers, 79.7 million of which were actually spending money on games. To contextualize that figure, the entire U.S. video games industry, including PC, mobile, and console games, only brought in $30.4 billion in revenues in 2018, according to Newzoo. So again, $30.4 billion as compared to the PC gaming industry in China, which still raked in $15.21 billion in the midst of a freeze of new games. That is insane. Nico Partners' report also includes estimated revenue for Steam, which is becoming an increasingly important part of PC gaming in China. For the last few years, Steam has somehow managed to stay available to Chinese gamers, while other services like Twitch have been blocked or altered by Chinese government censorship. Through Steam, Chinese players can play games that would probably never be approved for sale, like Grand Theft Auto 5. Over 24% of Steam users have set their language to simplified Chinese, and China is the biggest source of download traffic from Steam. Earlier this year, PUBG said that Asia contributed to 53% of its $920 million in revenue. The takeaway here is that China's PC gaming industry is massive and, though outpaced by mobile games and slowed by changes in regulations, still growing steadily. And of course, there are more facts here from Nico Partners' 2019 report. Foreign games accounted for 60% of the China's PC gaming revenue in 2018. China has 138,000 internet cafes, which of course are pretty much hubs for where people can go and play games. Esports is the strongest driver of growth for China's PC games market. Esports revenue was $6.3 billion in 2018, accounting for 41.4% of online games revenue, and it's projected to reach $9.5 billion by 2023. And so, that's where we're at currently right now. Again, the projection here is that PC gamers are on pace to actually outnumber the entire U.S. population. Not just the population of the United States citizens that are gamers, the entire U.S. population. And what I want to really highlight here is the fact that there has been continued growth in the midst of essentially a freeze on the gaming industry. Of course, it has continued to grow and many games are still available, but in its actual, nature, it is actually a freeze. Now imagine whenever these regulations begin to get worked out and whenever the government begins to realize what needs to happen with gaming and they begin to make changes, assuming they go in the right direction. Whenever they finally unleash the gates or open the gates, whatever you want to say, imagine the flood. Imagine how many people, imagine how many games are going to be sold. This is an incredibly lucrative market for gaming. And of course, we see Nintendo making moves trying to get the Switch into China with the approval process beginning for that. It is going to be a very interesting next couple of years because China is going to be a huge hub for gaming. It's going to be absolutely mind-boggling how big that actually becomes. Because again, whenever it's stunted in its current state, it is still growing at an absolutely astronomical rate. And so whenever you take that stunting away, it's actually mind-boggling. I know I keep saying that, but oh my gosh, it is absolutely insane. So with that being said, I just wanted to start off the day with a fun fact. The PC gamers in China are going to outnumber the US population by 2023. Crazy, man. Crazy. However, let's talk about Fortnite. Now, I know you might be saying, Sam, do we really have to talk about Fortnite still? It's 2019, coming up towards the middle of May. Yes, because Fortnite is still a world superpower. Fortnite Season 8's Unvaulting event bugs, and Epic offers a free item in response. Some were stuck in the vault. As is custom when a season of Fortnite approaches its conclusion, Epic Games held a one-time world event that gave people in the right place at the right time the opportunity to see something cool happen on the island. Except this time, it didn't go off without a hitch, and in response, Epic has offered those who encountered a problem a make-good gift. On May the 4th, players gathered around Loot Lake for an event called the Unvaulting. As the name implies, the mysterious vault at the center of the location opened up and Fortnite players jumped in. Inside, they were faced with a number of pillars that represented different weapons and items. Players effectively chose which of these to free from the vault by collectively striking down a pillar using their pickaxes. The liberated item was the Tommy gun, and once freed, everyone was launched back onto the island. After being returned from the vault, players got to witness the volcano that appeared in Season 8. For Season 8, erupt and destroy Tilted Towers, effectively reshaping the island and laying the groundwork for Season 9. That's how it should have gone, and for many, that's what they saw. However, a large contingent of players that gathered for the event encountered issues and were not able to see the event unfold as was intended. Epic Games has acknowledged the issue and said, "We apologize to those who were unable to witness the event and place their vote. To make up for the snag, those that were in the Unvaulting playlist at the right time will be given the Arcana Glider free of charge. If you've already purchased the glider using V-Bucks, you will be refunded the 1,200 V-Bucks. Fortnite Season 8 is now its 10th week, and the season is coming to a close very soon. But before you start thinking about what's next, we recommend wrapping up the season's challenges as quickly as possible. And of course, they have guides for how to do all of that good stuff if you did want to complete some challenges before that season actually wraps up. However, this is pretty impressive. Number one, because Fortnite in and of itself is a very, huge game still in 2019, and again, I always want to take the moment to remind all of the listeners, viewers, whatever you may classify yourself as, Fortnite was never intended to be what it became. It was actually intended to be a game in which you just built bases and defended yourself against zombies, and then they just pretty much threw this BR mode together. And so for it to still be going strong, very strong in May of 2019, is something that I think is worth applauding, because they've done very well with this, even though crunch has been a big part of that. With all of that to the side, the Unvaulting event is something that I think should be emulated by other games, perhaps. I know that's something that's probably controversial because everybody wants everybody to be unique and their own little snowflake whenever it comes to how they want to implement new features in their games. But this was a fun event because essentially players were able to choose what item they wanted back. And to be able to have player voice in the world of Fortnite, I think, is something that they value very greatly over at Epic Games because of the stuff, like I believe it's called The Block, where there is a community creation featured in the game every single week. It's phenomenal how they've been able to implement player voices from this giant community and keep that kind of communication going. But with that being said, always kind of sucky whenever you are there and you've, taken the time out of your day to hang out in the world of Fortnite while a new event is getting ready to come down the pipe, and then all of a sudden it doesn't work for you. So with that being said, pretty cool to see this kind of stuff happening, and it's good to see they have offered a make good gift, as the guys over at GameSpot say. And of course, if you did want to dive in and get that glider, you certainly can if you were in the Unvaulted playlist during that specific time. And again, if you bought it, you get the refund. However, let's talk about Tom Clancy, because Wildlands didn't do that well. It sold pretty well, but of course, we have a teaser for what everybody is believing to be Wildlands 2. Ghost Recon teaser suggests we will see a new Tom Clancy game announced on May the 9th. A few months ago, a Ghost Recon Wildlands update dropped hints that pretty much everyone took to mean a new Tom Clancy game would soon be announced. It has taken some time, but it looks like those teasers are paying off in the very near future. Another hint has dropped in the latest update, and it points to an announcement 1 week from today. This was written a couple of days ago, so it's 3 days from today, on May the 6th. I want to make that very clear. The original teaser pointed to a fictional organization called Skell Technology, and the latest, noted by YouTuber Corecross, shows an invitation to an event called SkellCon, set to take place on May the 9th, 2019. The time for that event is set at 11:30 PDT, as seen in the Eastern Time Zone, about 2:30, so you will probably want to tune in to Ubisoft's usual channels around that time. Both this and the old teaser directed people to Skelltech's website, and the link featured on this invitation even includes a temporary rating pending badge from the ESRB, a very likely sign of an upcoming game release separate from anything that is already out there. It's not clear what exactly the new game might be. It's possible it will be a new entry in an existing franchise like Ghost Recon or Rainbow Six, or it could be something entirely new. But whatever it is, it seems to center on a company called Skell Technology, which manufactures drones and robots that can be used for civilian use. Finding clues found in the game, players have worked out the login and password for Skelltech's website, and if you head over there, you can gain access with the username Assantos and password 10068. Entering those pops up an unlisted Ubisoft YouTube video that features Skell products, including drones for farming and emergency medical treatment. And if you don't feel like logging in, there is the video. Of course, it will only work in North America due to Ubisoft's upload method, but the fictional company's founder Jay Skell discusses the possibilities provided by autonomous machines when he says, which he says have been designed to free mankind of its tedious limitations. And of course, they go on to talk more about Skell Technologies, although nothing is concrete as of yet. But very exciting to see that there is a brand new Tom Clancy game coming down the pipe. Now, personally, I would absolutely adore a brand new Future Soldier, because I loved Tom Clancy's Future Soldier. It came out back on the PS3, the Xbox 360, and the PC. It was a phenomenal game. I was a big fan of the multiplayer as well. Of course, it didn't get the love that it deserved, as many Tom Clancy games tend to, suffer from. But I'm just hoping it's not really Wildlands 2. Again, I have nothing against Wildlands. It was fine. I played a couple of the free weekends here and there, but unless you completely and totally threw yourself into the game, then people kind of, touched and went with it, and that's kind of the I guess, lasting impact of Wildlands. But again, the Tom Clancy series, the Tom Clancy name, never fails to impress me, because you get a couple of games here and there that might not be that good, or that might not be that successful, that might not bring in tons of money, but then you have stuff like Rainbow Six Siege, which is a Tom Clancy game that tries new things, that evolves over time, that changes the way that people see the first-person genre in a way. The way that Rainbow Six took elements of stuff like SWAT and combined it with a whole bunch of modern shooters is phenomenal. It was just very well done, and it's a game that still maintains a very solid player base today. So I would love to see something with that, but again, it just doesn't feel like the kind of teaser for a Rainbow Six Siege announcement. And on top of that, there is no reason for a new Rainbow Six Siege game, or even a Rainbow Six game in general, because Siege is doing so well and the name is so closely associated with Siege that a lot of people wouldn't expect a classic style Rainbow Six kind of game. So again, we don't know. We can speculate as much as we would like, but we would know some more stuff if there is, in fact, some kind of event going on May the 9th, which, again, it does seem like there will be. But, again, if you do want to go to the Skeltech website, you can enter password Asantos and password 10068 if you did want to dive in and see what all of the hubbub is about. However, let's move on and talk about Platinum Games, because Platinum is going to start self-publishing its games so that it can make sequels, among other reasons. Platinum is seemingly fed up over not being able to control the future of the games it develops. Titles like The Wonderful 101 and Vanquish have been positively received, but because Platinum doesn't wholly own the properties, it can't dictate what is next for them. That is going to change. In an interview with Video Games Chronicle, Platinum head Atsushi Inaba says that the studio is going to shift to an ethos of self-publishing its games. Inaba mentions he doesn't want to depend on external publishers because that takes authority out of Platinum's hands. What it means is we have a lot of different choices in the way that we want to make games, he said, also mentioning that the studio is having freedom in this regard. The biggest sticking point seems to concern when sequels get made. It's that simple, and quite frankly, in the case of Bayonetta, it took a lot of time and energy to get it to the point where sequels could be made. It wasn't as simple as picking up the phone and asking, hey, can we do this? There were a lot of pieces that needed to fall into place and a lot of negotiating that had to occur, Inaba explains. It's absolutely the truth that there are cases where you do what you want to do with the sequel, but if you don't own the IP, you can't do it. The wheels are already in motion, says Inaba, as Platinum has 2 unannounced games in development, both completely owned by the studio. One of them is emphatically praised by Inaba, who says, we are in the middle of designing something that has never been done before. I know a lot of people say that, but the game we are working on is truly unlike anything else. This is something that has never been designed before, so from a game design perspective, we are very excited right now. Platinum isn't taking these changes lightly. Inaba calls this a new foundation, while also stating that these methods bring about new challenges. Regardless, it seems like an exciting time at Platinum as the developer hopes to finally seize control of its artistic vision. And this is incredibly exciting because if you don't know Platinum, they make some very, very notable games, including this one right here, which is Nier Automata, or Nier Automata, however you want to say that. I know there's a correct pronunciation, but you know what I'm talking about. They make some very, very unique games, but they specifically in this article mention Vanquish, and I want to kind of riff on that for a minute because Vanquish is a phenomenal game. It is just the cream of the crop when it comes to shooting mechanics, cover-based shooting, third-person shooters. It's just a really good game, and I would have loved to see a modernized version of Vanquish. I would have loved to see multiple sequels to Vanquish, because it's a game that deserves them, and there are so many games out there that simply don't deserve sequels. I hate to be the one to break it to you, but this is certainly one that did, and of course, Platinum has a huge catalog of various games that deserve sequels, and of course, they need their creative vision because that is a studio that does some very impressive work. They're creative in a way that just blows me away. And so to see them kind of take control over every part of their process, it really does kind of instill in me the hope that they're going to be able to really, I guess I'll use this word again, riff on their own creativity and really create special experiences. And of course, Inaba seems to be very excited about at least one of the projects that they're working on right now. And that excitement speaks volumes because I think that many times whenever you are working in the gaming industry, especially whenever you are stuck in that continual rut of, you know, developing a game, publishing a game, talking to everybody else, you can kind of get jaded when it comes to developing something. And so to see genuine excitement, to see passion is something that gets people excited. And I think that a lot of these big reveal events that we see around E3, you'll be seeing some over the course of the next few weeks, are beginning to lack that, where these big corporate bosses have kind of lost touch. And again, I'm not going to be calling anyone out, but that's just kind of the way that I've been perceiving things over the past few years. All of that to the side, exciting times for Platinum, and if there is any company that can make some pretty impressive stuff through the beauty of self-publishing, it certainly is them. But Rocket League is getting review bombed because Epic bought Psyonix. Speaking of corporate stuff, more than 2,700 negative reviews have poured onto Steam, but the new anti-bombing system is working. Good for Steam for making that happen. Epic's acquisition of Rocket League studio Psyonix earlier this week resulted in a predictable reaction. A review bombing campaign that hit the game with more than 2,700 negative reviews on Steam since May the 1st. Yet, in spite of that effort, the user review rating, including recent reviews, remains very positive. That's because of the system Valve implemented in March that excludes off-topic review activity from review score calculations, effectively an anti-review bomb shield. An asterisk on the Rocket League review chart leads to a message stating that this time, range has been marked as containing an abnormal set of reviews that we believe are largely unrelated to the likelihood that you would enjoy the product. That's a pretty good way to say that it's been review bombed. The reviews themselves remain visible in that section of the Steam listing, so you can still see entries like, for instance, the one player with nearly 1,900 hours of playtime who spends multiple paragraphs describing how great the game is before giving it a negative review because you sold your honor. Why? The backlash comes despite the fact that neither Psyonix nor Epic have said that Rocket League will be removed from Steam, and in fact have pledged to continue supporting the Steam edition of the game for existing owners, even after the game goes on sale on the Epic Store. Again, why? For now, nothing has changed except the studio ownership, and even that may not be a dramatic shift given the long-standing relationship between Epic and Psyonix. Rocket League is obviously the studio's best-known game, but the Psyonix website says it also worked on Epic games including Gears of War, Bulletstorm, Unreal Tournament 3, and UT 2004. Review bombs are nothing new, but it's interesting to see Valve's anti-bombing mechanism in action, and of course, it is effective in blocking those reviews that of course aren't actually based on any kind of meaningful content. So, again, I want to talk about these because I always like pointing them out because they're pathetic. And I know that there's a lot of controversy surrounding Epic Games and the Epic Games Store and people that are selling out or whatever, but when it comes down to it, there is no negative here. People on Steam are still getting the game. You still have access to the game. Updates are still coming to your version of the game that you own on Steam. There is literally no reason to complain. If you have the game and you've purchased the game on Steam, congratulations, you have the game where you want to have the game. If Rocket League's company, or excuse me, the studio behind Rocket League Psyonix, wants to partner up with Epic on a future project, if they want to partner up with Epic in an effort to pump more money into competitive Rocket League, they very well should, because that's an incredible opportunity. I want to make it very clear that if you leave money on the table for the wrong reasons, let me make sure I'm phrasing this correctly. If you leave money on the table and everything works, like everything is upright, everything is outstanding, everything is good, then that's just a bad business decision. And so to leave money on the table because the community might get mad, the neckbeards, they might put down their Mountain Dew and raise their torches. That is ridiculous. Do not do that if you are a game developer. If you have the opportunity to actually get more funding for future projects, for community outreach, for esports organizations, teams, collective events, whatever you need, take it if everything is on the up and up. Now, there are some instances in which a game developer may take money and sell out, and it might not be the best move, and we've seen that in the past. But this specific instance, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. So again, I hope the best for the guys over there at Psyonix, and again, I do hope that the gaming community overwhelmingly just grows up. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Let's move on to the next story of the day. 17,000 Niantic players worked to collect 145 tons of rubbish in celebration of Earth Day 2019. An effort like this highlights how much impact people can have when they work together. 17,000 Pokemon Go and Ingress players have helped developer Niantic collect 145 tons of rubbish across the world in celebration of Earth Day 2019, smashing the company's top target of attracting 7,000 players. Collectively volunteering 41,000 hours to help the cleanup, players from 41 different countries teamed up for Niantic's second annual attempt to make our communities cleaner. While non-government organizations and charities hosted 176 events, the vast majority of the 476 rubbish collecting activities were arranged by the players themselves. We're astounded with how much everyone involved has achieved. An effort like this highlights how much impact people can have when they work together, said Niantic's Jenny Solheim Fuller via a blog on its official website. Players worked in groups of 1 to 2,500 alongside government agencies, volunteer organizations, and fellow community members, creating incredible impacts. And of course, here are some of the wonderful pictures of people getting out there and helping clean up the world. Isn't that nice? Isn't that a good little feel? That's disgusting. Oh my God, there's so many pieces of trash in that pond. Jesus. Anyways, so Pokemon Go held a series of special limited time events to encourage participation, including boosting the chance of grabbing a shiny Diglett along with an increased number of grass types. Players who participated in the cleanup efforts also could secure bonus awards. And of course, there's other Pokemon Go news making the rounds, but again, congratulations to those that got out and, helped make the world a better place on Earth Day, because it is getting to be, really gross in a lot of the areas of the world. And so to be able to get 17,000 people out and about, collecting over 145 tons of garbage is something that I think is another example of how gaming does good. Of course, we've seen it in many various shapes, formats, etc., but man, is it cool to see this kind of stuff taking place. So congratulations to those that helped make that possible. However, to round out today's lineup, For Honor has added a pretty cool limited time, I would assume, aesthetic to the game. Ubisoft adds lightsabers to For Honor, of course in honor of May the 4th. Love it or hate it, today is Star Wars Day, they write on May the 4th, and Ubisoft gave us one of the best Star Wars themed game updates. Technically, the recent update doesn't add any new weapons, but as soon as you lock onto an opponent, your weapon begins to glow with a familiar energy. Lightsabers have been something that the For Honor community has been asking for a long time, so it is cool to see this update finally happen. Head over to For Honor's Reddit community to see this update in action, and if you haven't touched the game in a while, now might be a good time to pick it back up and give it another go. But again, very cool to see that the lightsabers are in the game. I would assume this is a limited time thing because you can't just let things glow forever, but very cool little limited time thing if it is a limited time thing. But again, May the 4th be with you. I know that Saturday was a big day for a lot of Star Wars fans. I respect Star Wars, I have a love for it, but I'm not like super into it like so many other people are. But to see games like this really just kind of get into the spirit of the holiday, I suppose, is probably not the best way to put it, but again, that's one way to put it. It's very cool. So again, if you did want to dive into For Honor, the game has had significant updates and improvements over the course of the past few years, but without a doubt, one that is worth checking out if you did want to see what it is made of these days. But again, very cool stuff. So that rounds out today's episode of Caffeinate. Of course, if you are brand new to the show, I welcome you on in, and I do hope you subscribe because the show is hosted 5 days a week, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv, and then taken down and put up on YouTube, as well as podcast services around the world. But until tomorrow, you guys have a phenomenal Monday. I will talk to you soon, and peace.